It's saying for Twitter, at least on mine, I have to be premium.
You are premium, aren't you?
With a check mark. I have to have a check mark.
You don't have a check mark?
No, I don't pay for no.
All right. Well,
can you do it?
You're live on YouTube right now, just so you know.
Can you? Yeah, that's great. Can you?
I don't think I can. I'd have to give you like all my login information and stuff like that.
You couldn't just link it from yours. No, I'm not asking.
Probably not. Probably not.
A premium account. That's crazy.
Mm.
Okay, well, we'll still post it either way. It is what it is.
Yeah, make sure you post the link on your X or whatever.
Yeah, here, I'm going to do that now. I'll do the YouTube link just so it's up there, and then you can have that. Because at least it's going to there, and it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, that works.
Let's see here.
Thanks for the Duncan. I appreciate it.
Hey, anytime I can help you do anything in regards to this streaming and the juice box, I'm here for it.
Juice box sending.
I'm here for you. Hey,
I appreciate that.
I can't just only give juice. I wish I would have seen you at WrestleMania. I was giving out juice boxes.
Were you really?
Yeah, and then they declined. I couldn't bring in a couple of them when we went to Xfinity Live. So
yeah, it makes sense.
It was what it was. All right, I'm gonna create this Twitter thing real quick and link it because I got the link now. We're moving up in the world, Drew.
You're buying Twitter Premium, or you're linking your YouTube?
No. I'm linking my YouTube. One thing at a time. I don't know if I got other stuff to pay for. Twitter is not a high thing on my list.
I hear you.
All right.
How many peeps you got in here? Can you see it?
No, I can't. Probably no one.
So. There it is. I see Phil's in here. What's up, Phil?
Oh, Phil's in here. Hey, Phil.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. Sorry for my background. I'm in a hotel, so this is what we got going on. Oh, and you know what? The hotel background is the hotel background. So.
I mean, this is luxurious Drew traveling the country.
Yeah, exhausted Drew is what this is.
All right, and tweeting out the link.
All right,
and it is sent. So
I'll let you handle comments and stuff because I won't be able to see them. I'm gonna full screen this, so it's all you.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I got here. I got you. Cool. Phil is in here. Nice. All right. Well, this is a little rinky-dink production to start out, but we'll get the ship righted as we normally do here on the Juice Box. But welcome into the Juice Box. This is kind of a out of nowhere, out of left field production that we're coming up with and conjuring up. But shout out to the man to my right on the screen, maybe to the left. I don't really know. I'm going to do the little Russell Wilson thing. But hey,
oh yeah, how'd that end up last night?
Hey, I'm wearing Raiders gear right now, so I got the Raiders fan piece of me right now. But with me to do this special edition of the Juice Box kind of on the fly, but hey, this is what we do here. Andrew Baydala, look at him drinking some Dunkin', kind of bribed him to come on the show here on the Juice Box for the AEW Full Gear predictions. So, Drew, it seems like you're going to be going to the show. Are you excited for this thing?
Yeah, I'll be there. We sold a bunch of tickets for the Prudential Center in the Pier Club. Looking forward to seeing everybody on Saturday for that. I just wanted to get some wrestling fans together to have a good time. Everyone, always asks how much money you make off the seats. Not a dime. Just
you're on the payroll, Drew.
Oh yeah, that's true. Right, I forget. Just looking to have everybody get together, and it's a good reason to get out and see some of my buddies. So that's why I'm here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Full Gear. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
there's a lot of meat on this Moxley bone. I'm hoping.
You think?
I'm hoping. I'm hopeful. I'm an optimist always. We'll have
a cockeyed optimist, if you will.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But I think the Full Gear card. I think Swerve and Bobby are the most well booked right now in terms of like storyline advancement and everything else like that. I'm really looking forward to that. Should be a good one. Looking forward to hopefully the House of Black winning the tag titles after everybody was kind of like, oh, Malachi's gone and everything else like that. That would be what they would do and what they should do. But taking the belts off a Private Party might be a little premature. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The Fletcher Osprey match, something looking forward to. I saw they announced Takeshita and Ricochet.
Yep, match is just going to happen. They just
Yeah,
announced
well,
it out of nowhere. They're about as on the
yeah,
fly as the juice box.
yeah. I just, the other thing that was troubling to me is like, where's Hook and Cage? Like, where's
Oh
Hook
my
and
God, I
Christian
know,
Cage?
right?
So,
Yeah,
but other than
you'd
that,
think there'd be right. You'd think that there would be some more build or some guys that aren't even on this card, or again, one women's match? You know,
that's not really something that bothers me in terms of like, would I love to see more women representation on this card?
yeah,
Absolutely. 100%. AEW is loaded with female talent, loaded. WWE is absolutely stacked with female talent too. And I mean, they have it
yeah.
in droves, but I don't want the match of any sex to be just a match for the sake of having a match. There's got to be some sort of build. Did they, kind of drop the ball with Mariah? Maybe. Mariah's going to have a segment on the show, and it leads me to believe that Tony's probably showing up, Tony Storm.
I
But
thought she retired.
yeah, right. Which God bless Tony was so polite on the call when somebody asked about it. But for me, like, I don't want the match just to have a match. I don't care who it's with. If they were like, hey, Christian Cage is going to take on, I don't know, somebody from the conglomeration, I'd be like, for what? Let's just not have the match for the sake of having a match.
Just the sake of having a match. Right. Well,
Yeah.
We'll dive into all this stuff. We cannot talk about this card without talking about quite possibly the greatest and most hyped 0-hour match in the history of AEW. We're talking QT Marshall with all the odds against him.
I am happy you said his name right.
Right, of course. Come on. Taking on Big Boom AJ with Big Justice in his corner. Wait a second. And the Rizzler as the special guest timekeeper. Drew, there's been a lot of discussion and discourse over this. I'm just going to flat out ask you, is this pre-show and the whole Big Boom AJ thing worth it for AEW? And will this match deliver? Boom!
There you go. So from a marketing standpoint and a visibility standpoint and an impression standpoint, absolutely 100%. I mean, I think the Rizzler announcement did like over 7 million views or is on its way to that.
It's at 10 million as
All
of
right. So I mean,
right now.
Give me a break. Do you think that we're talking about AEW Full Gear on the Tonight Show if it wasn't for AJ and Big Justice? No way. So again, there's a lot of things that I think Tony and AEW were smart to involve them. Are they my cup of tea? No. They're not. Do I understand the whole hype behind them? No, right. They're not for me. Wrestling is a variety show. It's best when there's many different flavors served. And we're getting the double chunk chocolate flavor, I guess, on Saturday. And for me, will I be watching? Yeah, I want to see the crowd reaction. I'll be up in the suite checking it out. But again, are AJ and Big Justice, something that I watch regularly? No, but the world is watching them, literally, AJ and Big Justice and the Rizzler and that whole Costco guy stuff. So if they can even capture a 10th of that audience over to AEW, and again, they're not putting it on the pay-per-view. AEW could have been real stingy and made you pay, or real, money hungry and make you pay to see AJ and Big Justice and the Rizzler, but they're putting it on the pre-show. So I think a lot of people need to understand what this is. And this is something that's been done time and time again in the wrestling business. And not to mention, these guys are more wrestling than some of your wrestlers. So, I mean, just the marketability and how they sell things. I mean, come on.
They are incredible sellers. Specifically AJ, my God, in the 1.5 minute promo he cut in Times Square, he dropped the Prudential Center, who he was wrestling, where it was happening, what day, a couple times in a course of 1:30. He's very concise. He's a pro's pro when it comes to this. And I feel like promoting matches in that way is a lost art, and good on them for an AEW for striking while the iron's hot.
It is. There's a lot of things that I learned from my psychology minor. I'm not going to give away secrets that I do on social media to see who's watching. There are some things that I do incognito and I say so that people will be like, I don't watch that guy. And then all of a sudden I see different things that they're doing, or I hear different things and I'm like, you definitely watch my stuff. And it's not me being braggadocious. It's just me saying there's some words that I'll make up that are not a word, or they're words that are like from like an ancient, time that aren't used anymore from the,
Sure.
the 20s and the 30s. Then all of a sudden I see some streamers using it and I'm like, okay, like, all right. I mean, I don't know if you heard it from me, but who else is saying it? So again, very lost art in the wrestling business. Prudential Center, Saturday. I jumped on here for this has been 3 minutes, and I've already mentioned the Pier Club and the Prudential Center 3 times now, and that's my business. So again, that's just the art of selling. And it's for me, it's a lot of people have forgotten how to do it. They just think that they need to get in the ring and have the best moves. And that's not what business is. I mean, you got to wrestle. There's no doubt about it, but there's a lot more to wrestling than just wrestling.
I heard through the grapevine that you coined the term imminent. Is that true?
I don't think I coined it, but I definitely popularized it for sure. I said the word imminent, and it wasn't imminent, and I was roasted for it. And then I saw some others using it, but I'll take the Mr. Imminent moniker for sure.
As you should. You should embrace it. So, I mean, with this first match, I hope that you get to see the pop that the Rizzler gets, and I hope the match goes well.
So, Juice, I want to talk about the Rizzler for a quick second, because I flew in for a Mets playoff game, and he was in the crowd. That he was in the crowd just to hype the crowd up, and the crowd went ballistic for him. So it's just something that, and there's another word, you start seeing people use ballistic, they watch the Juice Box. They went absolutely ballistic for him. They went absolutely nuts. And I was just like, I looked at my dad and I was like, and my son doesn't watch him, but I was like, who is this guy? And my buddy picked me up from the airport, and I was like, hey, the Costco guys are wrestling tomorrow. And he was like, who the hell are the Costco guys? And I was like, okay, cool.
Wow.
But it's not the demographic. It
didn't reach everybody. Right.
But he's a 37-year-old male. It's not.
What are you, Drew?
You know about him. 37-year-old male. Yeah. So I know about him through AEW, but a lot of people know him through TikTok and Instagram and all that other stuff. Like, I just don't think people understand people harp on the ratings, Juice, for what?
I know.
Content is consumed
every week.
Completely. This isn't 2004. This isn't 2014. This isn't even 2018. This is 2024. I almost felt like Paul Heyman. This is ECW. But, I mean, like, it's just different. Like, we consume content differently. It's very a la carte. It's very on demand. So for people to like harp on the ratings and pretend like they get wins and losses by who beats who on different nights is just asinine.
Yeah, and with the Netflix thing coming with WWE, ratings, like, can't wait to see how many. Like, it's not going to be a thing. I'm kind of looking forward to the discourse not being there, although people will still bitch about something.
I thought it was funny how people were like, yo, WWE is going to be mad about like going to Netflix is what happened with Tyson. And I could sit here and I don't know if this is breaking news, but I will tell you that WWE executives did call Netflix, but Netflix is not going to have an issue with their servers because WWE is not bringing in 150 million viewers.
Let's say they bring in 5 million. That's
I know.
A lot, and it'll be fine. It'll be just fine. And then they got 2 NFL games a week before or 2 weeks before.
Right.
I think they'll have quite a few 20 to 30 million plus watching those, and I think they'll have it done by the time Raw gets on. So
not to mention, the tweet that I put out about the walk times and what time Tyson and Paul will hit the ring got over like 200,000.
That blew up.
Yeah, 200,000 views. But what I'm saying is people were now in the know on what time Tyson and Paul were going to actually fight, and everybody tried logging in at the same time for the most part and just crashed the server. It's not going to be the same thing with Raw.
No, I'm kind of looking forward, and I know we're talking AEW here. We'll talk about the card in just a moment, but I like the fact that it's live no matter what. There is no tape delay. On the road to WrestleMania, when they have shows across the pond and it's at whatever time there, we're going to be able to watch it live in the States because it's Netflix and it's just going to be able to do it. And I like that aspect of this is a new venture for WWE and Raw. So I'm looking forward to it personally. So overall, Drew, we got this card, 9 matches outside of that pre-show match. Who, by the way, who do you think wins the pre-show match? Does QT go over, or do we get the power boom for the win?
QT Marshall is going to no. Yeah, you're definitely getting the power boom for the win. QT Marshall is such a pro. He's a pro's pro that he's going to go in.
Hey, I just said that. You just used my term. See how it goes?
There you go. Well, that's how this works. So yeah, he's a pro's pro. He's going to go in there and do right by the business, and he's not going to try and get over on AJ's expense, and that's huge. That's called being a professional. It's called trust. That's what you need. And a lot of people are like, why isn't AJ working with anybody else? Well,
Right.
they're trusting QT to do his job, and QT will absolutely do his job. QT is a dog. He's and not a bad dog. He's like a dog. So I'm here for the match.
That term.
I do. I'm here for it. I think QT is gonna, there's gonna be some beatdown of AJ a little bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Rizzler gets involved and all. And
what's
Justice,
he gonna do?
Maybe swings like something at him, misses, distracts him, that type of stuff. But AEW is gonna capitalize on this, and they should. And realistically, let's just call a spade here. Are you really tuning into this pre-show? If it was like, and this is no knock, but if it was like some
you could name anybody
versus
Drew.
Another jabroni, no, right? So I mean,
you could name anyone,
yeah,
right. And I've bought as many AEW pay-per-views as long as I'm available to watch them. I've purchased them. I have no shame in doing that. I pride myself in supporting AEW. That does not mean I have to watch every single minute and second of the pre-show. That being said, anybody you could have thrown on there, I probably wouldn't have been interested in unless it was something that really piqued my interest. And this is random and it piques my interest, so I'll absolutely be tuning in. Yeah. As for the main show, 9 matches, quite a few championships on the line, some grudge matches in here, a lot of intrigue for sure. Let's dive in. Let's just start from where it is here listing as I see it. MJF versus Roderick Strong. This is pretty much just another grudge match, as you were. The Adam Cole coming back, and all this is so muddied. Just what are your thoughts on MJF kind of doing these bizarre cinematic promos that, but he's talking to about Adam Cole, but Roderick Strong's having the match. What do you feel about this whole thing, and who do you have winning?
Yeah, it feels like MJF's kind of like talking through Roderick to get to Cole. And it's just very interesting to me where the match kind of came out of left field in terms of like we all thought it was MJF and Cole, and it's MJF and Strong, and I could have seen a triple threat. Didn't happen. The promo last week or this past Wednesday did really nothing for me in terms of like selling the match. I think AEW needs to stop harping on like, people's past, their moms, their dads, all that other stuff. The Christian gimmick I get, but like, all right. So his mom was a drug addict, shot his dad or an alcoholic, whatever. Like come on. But for
Shout out to Josh Cross from Triple Threat Theater. Rizzler's going to choke slam QT. That's exactly what we need to see. Here's the thing. If Rizzler gets involved at all, you want to talk 10 million on a promo backstage, they are going to go crazy for any sort of social media if the Rizzler is involved and does something like that. So
right. And I think that the Rizzler would definitely have an involvement in this match. But the interesting story here with MJF and Roddy is, what is Cole's involvement? Like, is Cole going to turn and be a heel with MJF? A lot of people like, this makes no sense. It's professional wrestling. Like, things need to make sense, but like, there's good guys and bad guys. Yeah. Big Show turned like 15 times in one day. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but it just seems like Adam Cole is being inserted into this match one way or another, and we just have to figure out which way it is.
Shout out to Phil here. He says, and he means Cole. I guess they're waiting on doing Cole and MJF at World's End a year after they had the Devil reveal last year, which makes a lot of sense, and I wonder if they would touch on that. But to your point, if there's some sort of heel turn, that ain't happening.
Well, it could. I can tell you this right now. The AEW is not doing the finger poke of doom, which would absolutely.
Oh, what do you mean? I thought it was WCW. That's what people have been comparing it to. Let's do it.
It would make me laugh hysterically if we get out there, MJF, puts a finger on Roddy, he drops, and Cole comes out, and he's like, "What the hell?" I would love it. It's typical MJF heel bullshit. Probably not going to happen. If I had to guess, I think if we are getting the turn on Cole from Roddy, it's Cole comes out to help Roddy, and Roddy hits him with a chair or who knows, blasts him. I don't know. Something's going to happen. I don't think Cole is turning on MJF or turning on Roddy to be with MJF. I think it's going to be vice versa. And I would love to see the rematch, I guess not a rematch, but a full year to the date, basically, of a MJF Cole match. We'll have to wait and see on that one, though.
For sure. So I don't know.
I'm going with MJF.
I think I'm going to go MJF as well. I don't hate some sort of finger poke thing, but again, I'm sure people will be coming in droves to, wow, what a waste. I can't believe WCW was back. What the hell's going on? So you can't make everybody happy, Drew. I'm sure
No.
you know that just by being on Twitter for 5 seconds. Like, you can't make everybody happy.
I asked the question to Tony on the media scrum, and I said, hey, how was the involvement of AJ and the Costco guys, and what have you learned? And he was like, I learned about marketing through them. And people were like, are you kidding me? This guy owns a wrestling company, and he doesn't know marketing. It's like, no, dude, like, you learn from everybody. AJ and Big Justice and that whole thing, like, they have figured out how to target an audience. And you all complain that Tony doesn't appeal to this demo or that audience or this, and now he's trying, and you guys are like, this guy's incompetent. It's like, no, he's trying to learn.
And that's the thing, of all the demographics that have potentially been ignored by AEW, I would say a younger demographic has been largely ignored in the grand scheme of things.
I have said this a million times.
You brought that you don't like, your kid doesn't watch AEW, you won't show him that, but he loves Cody and he loves WWE. It's more palatable for him.
Right. So my kid will watch WWE. And when Punk returned, I showed him that in AEW. But he is not allowed to watch AEW. And that's not because I don't think the product is good or it's not made for kids. And Tony Khan would say that. He would 100% say that most of our stuff is not for kids. They're not catering to that demographic. And we don't want them to be WWE. We don't. We want AEW to be the alternative. But my kids do not watch AEW. They do not. Before they went to WWE, they had no idea who Cody was. He had a small inkling of who Punk is. And I would have taken him to this show. But realistically, this is an adult-based, teenager-ish based wrestling program. And that's fine. So, yeah, I mean, they don't appeal to the young kids. And I don't know if they ever will.
Well, that's what I was getting at, is that's why this pre-show match is happening. It's for free, right? So anybody can just tune in and see it. And if it gets one little Jimmy to be like, well, hey, I know the Rizzler. I know these guys. I like wrestling. I didn't know there was another company that's not WWE. Boom. You might get a fan just like that. Now, hopefully on this show, you don't get any syringes or, something that might turn the parents away from that. But you might hook them at least for the pay-per-view. So
yeah, my kid watched Pac and Ospreay on that all-out card. And I said I knew that was going to be the match that he could watch, because I didn't think there'd be blood, didn't think there'd be guts and all that other stuff. But I knew what we were getting with Swerve and Hanger. I knew it. And that's fine. And that's why I said, hey, you got to go to bed. And that's it. People are like, well, let the boy watch. No, he's not watching that.
You know what that is? Neglectful parenting. And I'm glad you don't do that, Drew. You're a very respectable gentleman. And I've seen as a respectable adult on this platform. So you're one of the good ones for sure.
Thank you, Juice.
As it regards. Of course, Drew. That's why you're on this show. I don't like to make any sort of enemy. I like welcoming people that treat me well, and I treat them well. It's one of the earliest things you learn as a kid, is treat others as you would like to be treated. And that's what we like to do.
I don't judge people on their political beliefs, their religious beliefs. I don't judge people on their sexual habits or anything else like that. Yeah. I judge people on how they treat others, and I judge people on how they talk to others. If you talk to people with disrespect or you treat people with malice, I'm out.
Look at this. Knockout Hub Tim. Watch the Rizzler come out with a pizza cutter.
Oh. They lost that Domino stuff, so I don't know about
that. Just whatever he does, I'm sure it's going to be. You think he's going to dress up in a suit to be timekeeper? They're going to go all out for this, right? Even though it's a pre-show, they're going to make sure, because this might be a one and done. You might make the most of this moment.
When I heard AJ talking about the whole experience, he said, they called and they said that we'll bring AEW to you. Be everything you want to do, but with AEW. And he said he was really holding out for WWE. I hope AJ is made available after the show, because I have some questions to ask him about. Has his stance changed?
Drew. This is what we need. This is the hard-hitting journalism. Drew talking to Big Justice and AJ. Let's go.
So we'll see what happens, but I do think that there's a possibility that something else happens, but we'll have to wait and see.
With wrestling, it's all, you never say never. I'm retired. I'm not retired.
Right. I mean, didn't Snooki wrestle at WrestleMania 27?
Drew, Jay Leno was in the main event of Road Wild 98. Let's be real here.
Poor Jay
So,
Leno. He fell down a hill, it looks like, if that's what we're calling it.
yeah, and that was local. It was in Greensburg, PA. I've been to the Palace Theater for a show, and
Yeah.
that's where he was. And I don't know. I don't get it. He has
Listen,
$1 billion and he's running down a hill.
Jay, you're not staying at a Hampton Inn. Let's cut this shit, okay? Next.
People are saying it could have been the Rizzler that did something to him.
I bet you it's somebody with the first name The. Don't know if it's the Rizzler, though.
Moving on. A rematch from Wrestle Dream. Jay White, Switchblade versus Hangman Adam Page. This is a return match. I'm just going to think that it's going to be a Hangman win, set up a potential third match. I like their match at Wrestle Dream. Drew, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I like this match. My only problem with this one, Juice, is that why isn't there a stipulation? Like, we just had a singles match. So you could give me no DQ.
They'll make the third match at stipulation. That's what they'll say, like, as a, well, this one doesn't have it, but now we'll set one up.
I get it. But, maybe I'm used to the old booking ways of Vince and Bischoff or JJ or Dusty or whomever, but I don't need another singles match. I would have loved a no DQ or a first blood, and then the third match could be a steel cage. I don't know. But for me, these two are a match made in heaven. They are perfect dance partners with each other. The Wrestle Dream match was great. I'll go with Paige.
Yeah,
tomorrow night in Newark.
Me too. And look at you promoting where the show is, where you are. Of course, you got the Full Gear background. You're a pro.
I try.
That's right. I too will pick Hangman. Not really sure what they're gonna do after this. And Phil brings up another good point. Do you see these two in the Continental Classic? We don't have any sort of bracket, right?
So I will ask Tony after because he's going to be available.
Give me the brackets.
No, I'm just going to say, is there any, because I don't really ask storyline questions, but I feel like what happened the last time the media scrum at Wrestle Dream, and that's no offense to the media members that were there, but it was an absolute embarrassment. Like, we need to be better. You need to do better.
No offense, but then you said it was an embarrassment.
Well, it was.
Drew.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm not burying. There were some people there that do very good work. I believe Denise was there. She does very, very good work. She's a good journalist. She's a good YouTuber and podcaster and everything else like that. I have a lot of respect for her. I just don't. I'm not a journalist. I'm an opinionist. But you need to know how to act in these settings, and you need to know, like, read the room. All right, we need a storyline question here. So for me, with this one, the Continental Classic around the corner, Tony said that he would, announce something after Full Gear. I will ask Tony, if given the opportunity, if somebody's up there, hey, could you give us some insight on who will be a part of the Continental Classic? It's interesting to me, though, Juice, because I don't really like the concept of Okada jumping into the Continental Classic because he's the goddamn champion. And I get it. Like, he's got to defend the title and regain it. But for me, I would have liked to have the Continental Classic end up where Okada awaits the winner at World's End.
That is interesting, but I kind of like how he has to you don't get a bye. Sure, you won last year, but this is this year. You gotta go through the gauntlet again. I like that.
But isn't this almost like a ticking time bomb? It's a ticking time bomb. Oh, I'm holding this championship, and it's got an expiration date, basically.
Then ask Tony why he pigeonholed a championship with a tournament at the end of the year that only gets defended at that point. Like, if he's the champion by the end, he have to be in the tournament. Like, I don't know.
They should defend that title more. I'm with you.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It leads to, well, he's going to be in the tournament. If he loses it, at least it does bring intrigue of, well, we'll have a new champion. It's just tough to make it that elevated, considering this is only the second year they're doing it.
There's a lot of things that I'm wondering. I'm wondering if Okada's injured, and that's why they haven't really utilized him in the past 2 months. Did he wrestle at Wrestle Dream?
Didn't he? I'm pretty sure he did. I'll check.
I think he did. I think he was in a 6-man, right? Maybe.
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
Maybe he didn't. I don't know. I don't see him on there. Takeshita, Hologram, all these other guys wrestled at Wrestle Dream. Yeah, maybe he is hurt. I haven't heard anything, to be honest with you.
Because that's a talent you want on your pay-per-views. That's a talent you want on your television. So
he's not on this show.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I think
there you go.
Either time off granted or he's hurt.
Right, and I'm sure he's going to want to do the Tokyo Dome January 4th show, right, for New Japan? Or is that even a thing? Like, is he just all elite?
Yeah,
Or
Kenny is
can he
going to be
work?
doing that. Oh, you know what? My buddy just texted me. Okada had a baby. So there you go. Getting some time off.
Congratulations, Okada,
There you go.
bitch.
That was nice. Nice little slide in there. Yeah, it's interesting. The Kenny stuff is interesting to me too. Like I understand New
Yeah.
Japan, their talent has been absolutely ravaged by AEW. I mean, they're
Oh my
all over
God.
in All
I
Elite
know.
Wrestling, and the roster's depleted. But again, for me, if I think it's a great move for Kenny. But if I'm Tony, I'm like, hey, we need you here, dude. We need you here bad. Like you're one of our major stars. You can have your Wrestle Kingdom and your Wrestle Dream match
Right.
and your whatever you want. I'll give it to you, but I need you here.
Yeah, and I'm sure they are working it out. I'm sure he'll be back into the fold sooner rather than later. Let's go to the four-way. Do they call them fatal four-ways? Because I know
Nah,
they've called them a three-way dance. They don't call
yeah.
it triple threat. They're
I
harkening
think
back to
Tony.
ECW.
I think Tony and AEW tries their damnedest to stay away from the WWE terms. So
They just utilize ECW terms, November
yeah.
to Remember.
Well, I mean,
Why not?
Tony will tell you this. He's a huge ECW fan.
We've talked about that.
You
He was at Jericho's last ECW show. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure this will get clipped, but I'm going to say this because I really don't care. Because
everything we do gets clipped, Drew. You bring out great points.
I did break some. I had some good. I don't want to call them predictions, but I mean, I broke a little bit of news on your show a couple times. I guess they were predictions that came to fruition.
Right.
I think a lot of people don't like Tony Khan because Tony is a fan first who inherited a bunch of wealth and then decided to use that wealth to make a wrestling company, a promotion, because all the stars align. And for me, it's like I feel like a bunch of these guys and girls who jump on Twitter and bash him hate him because they wish they were him. It's like a fan buying a sports team. And like Gary V, everyone wants Gary V to buy the Jets. But as soon as Gary V buys the Jets and they're not to exactly what they deemed appropriate for the New York Jets or the vision that this person from fucking East Bumblefuck, Idaho, doesn't have, they're going to be like, oh, Gary V's a terrible owner. Like a lot of you hate Tony because you wish you were Tony. You could say that you don't. I'd run this company better and I would do this. And it's like, okay, next. Yeah, right. Got it. I know.
Screaming into the mic absolutely helps.
Yeah, you and your 11,000 followers on Twitter are going to make an absolute difference. I mean, I wish that people use their platforms to be constructive and be better. Like it's just wrestling. If you don't like it, go do something else. But don't hate on somebody for no reason.
Tony Khan, literally, it is. He's the fan that got lucky and has
people
money
hate it
and can do it. Yeah, well, because they hate him because they're not him. And if it's not to your liking, well, how would you do it? And it's like they don't have good answers for that. Like I hate how this is booked. Well, how would you book it? No, I don't have an answer. Well, then shut the hell up.
Yeah, Tony is something that's just people, like I said, they want to use the sports analogy where they're like, oh, I wish a fan would own my team. A fan opened a wrestling company with a lot of stars and you guys hate it. You guys absolutely hate it. Can't understand it. And people they hate what they don't understand and fear what they can't conquer.
If you're a Packers fan, though, you do own the team.
That's right.
At least the share. So, but let's get to this fatal four-way, quadruple threat, whatever you want to call it. Private Party, the Outrunners, Kings of the Black Throne, and the acclaimed AEW tag titles on the line. I was kind of shocked that Private Party actually did get the win. It was nice 5 years after the fact that they got the win. I mean, look, gin and juice is their finishing maneuver. How can I not, guys? Let's be real here. Yeah, so the Outrunners, though, are on fire. I've seen them at live shows, and they're getting huge reactions. I think they could be a play here as let's strike while the iron's hot. But like you said, Malachi Black, well, I guess he's done. He's done. He's leaving. Oh, he's in the tag title match with Brody King and the Acclaimed, the former champs, in this as well. A lot of possibilities, a lot of avenues here. I'm going to hold off on my prediction until I hear what you have to say, Drew.
So, there's a buddy of mine that I talk to every day. And he was like, and his name's Blake. He was like, what would shut a lot of people up and what Tony
Blake Mitchamore?
Yeah.
Friend of the show, Blake Mitchamore.
Hell yeah. And he said, what would shut a lot of people up, and I'm sure this is what Tony will do. He'll have the Kings of the Black Throne. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
They will defeat FTR. and they will win the tag titles at Full Gear. And I was like, that's actually brilliant. I would do it too. Because first of all, Brody King is a dog, and Malachi Black is just so good as well. So put the straps on him, let him run. But I don't know if it takes away from the private party stuff and what we're trying to have happen with now Danny Garcia and Mox and Cassidy and all this other stuff. So for me, I would love to see the Kings of the Black Throne take the AEW tag titles. But for storyline purposes, I'm going to stay with Private Party just so I can come out of these predictions on top. And I'm going to say Private Party retains. But I would love and welcome the Kings of the Black Throne to win the AEW tag titles in Newark on Saturday.
I would love the Outrunners to win the AEW tag titles on Saturday. Even if
80s, brother.
That's right. I don't think it's like a bad thing. You have a million titles in AEW. I don't think it's a bad thing to be like, these guys are hot. Let's give them the titles. Who cares if they hold them for a month? They'll defend them next month. That match will be hot too. You get 2 months out of them. And then you give them back to Private Party or something. Like, why not?
Let me ask you a question, because you're a smart man.
Thank you.
What is, what separates people in the wrestling business? Like, you're
what
a
do you
talent.
mean what's separate?
What you're a talent? Well,
charisma, the talking, promo ability.
Or a gimmick,
as the kids say.
Something different. The Outrunners are a throwback to the 80s tag teams and all that other stuff.
But they commit to it. Their videos are all. You have to commit to the bit in 2024. You have to go full gear, Drew.
All in, right? So for me, it's like they're committed to the bit, right? Hook, another unique character on AEW that no one's like him. The same thing with the Outrunners, and the same thing with a couple of other talents in AEW.
Orange Cassidy.
They're different, right? So, let's highlight the different, and let's not be afraid to showcase that different, because otherwise you're just like everybody else, and you're not going to get over. MJF is different. MJF is starting to fall into these little traps, though, where he's cutting the same type of promo. And I think Max will fix that, because Max is a student of the game, and he's a fantastic talent. But again, somebody who is different. You got to be different in the wrestling business. Otherwise, you're just going to be that mid-carder who holds a championship here or there, and that's it.
Or they'll refer to you as a good hand, and that's okay, but that's not where you want to peak, You want to go a little higher than that. For sure. So you think Kings of the Black Throne? I'm going to take the Outrunners in this, but you ultimately, for storyline purposes, Private Party. You're thinking Private Party?
Yeah, it all depends on where they want to go with this, right? I don't see Cassidy walking out with the championship, which we'll get to tonight or later on tonight, and I will tell you why. But for me, it's just very interesting that I think Perry's going to lose the TNT title, so I don't think you can have Private Party not holding on to those tag titles for storyline purposes.
Right. It's funny because I've been on other shows talking about WCW. If they won this match, the NWO would have to drop all their titles, relinquish them all, and not wrestle for so long. That's this type of thing, but not pronounced. It's like, well, if this storyline is continuing, Moxley's probably not going to lose the title, but Jack Perry might.
But that's the big goal, right? They're kind of chipping away.
Yes, that's the point.
At this group, right? So who'd they take the tag titles off of? The Bucks. Who are they going to take the TN title off of? Jack Perry. So that group minus Okada is kind of laid out to pasture for the time being. And now the ultimate goal is to get the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, which will not be an easy task, off of Jon Moxley. So I think what they're doing is smart. They're giving other championships to the talent that was shown at the end of WrestleDream plus Private Party, and we'll see what happens. I think Hook is on his way to get a championship. Which one? Don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
I'm just glad it's not the FTW title. RIP.
Yes.
Let's go to a championship that will be defended in, like I said, the only women's match on this show. And it's not that it bothers me that there's not more women's matches, but it kind of blows my mind that you couldn't put even just a second match on there with the wealth of talent that is there. AEW TBS Championship, Chris Statlander challenging Mercedes Moné with quite possibly the worst bodyguard in the history of bodyguards, Camille. That's because of Mercedes' work, but still. I just want to say Moné is going to retain because we've had this conversation. It's like she comes in, I'm going to pick this person to face and this person to face. When is that? Well, I'm going to lose to them, and now we can get cooking with me chasing or something.
Yeah, I think that Mercedes needs to understand, which she does because she's very smart. I think she needs to understand the type of reaction she's getting as a heel, as a
or lack
champion.
thereof.
Right. That's my point. It was different when they were booing her because she came back as kind of like this de facto face, and then they moved her into the heel territory. They gave her a heater, a bodyguard with Camille, and realistically, it was kind of very reminiscent to the Tony Storm, Mariah May stuff, except it's a little different because someone's their bodyguard and not their manager or their friend or whatever. And I get it.
And remember,
again,
Camille puts it, or Phil puts it here. Camille was the longest reigning NWA Women's Champion, so
sure,
it's not
but
like
is
she
she
doesn't have
being
credentials.
She's
No,
not being
she's not
booked
being
like
booked
that.
that way.
So I don't
That's
like.
right.
I appreciate that, Phil, but you know what? Like, I don't care what she did in NWA. I don't care what these guys did in New Japan. I don't care what they did in CMLL. Like, what are we doing in AEW, and how are you booking them in AEW? If you want to, rest on your laurels there in terms of like what they did there, you're gonna have to highlight that in video packages. And realistically, your audience doesn't give a shit about what they did elsewhere. So for me, I think Monet needs to jump off this I'm not going to get beaten type of range she's on. Find
Like
somebody
picking
who
her
she
opponents.
Yeah, I think she needs to find somebody who she can make money with. And there's a lot of women on this roster who she could. She should drop the TBS title. I think it would get more equity with the fans. I think she would completely go into a different stratosphere in terms of people wanting to see her. Because right now, the growing consensus, and I know it's a small population online, the 10 to less than 10% of the total audience is on there. But man, they want her to go away and go away for good. So I think Monet and AEW need to sit back and look at this and make a real tough decision. I don't think Statlander's winning, but somebody needs to take that title off of Monet.
And we've talked about, go away heat in the past and how it was kind of like, no, it's just like you don't like them, which to me is actually a worse thing to admit, is that the fans just don't care about you. That's way worse than not liking you or liking you. At least it's
right.
Something.
And to that point, Juice, like as long as the fans are reacting, whether it's negatively or positively, and we're talking about booing or cheering, that's what you look for in the business. That's the psychology of the business and everything else like that. When they're not caring and they don't want to give you a reaction, they want you to get off their television, that is a problem.
Absolutely. So I agree with you here. I think Monet will likely retain here, but Chris Statlander is someone that I would buy as a person to defeat Monet. I think Chris Statlander's built up quite a bit of equity as a viable challenger in AEW. She's more believable. She's got a great look. She's great in the ring. And, maybe sometime in the future, but for now, it's all about the Monet. So,
I would absolutely have Camille beat the holy hell out of Monet after this match and just hot shot it at World's End. Have Camille take the TBS title. Maybe have Monet go away until Revolution. Have a return at the Staples Center, the Crypto.com arena. Maybe out for blood and vengeance, and maybe a little R&R and a little time away from the AEW audience. And I know they're paying her a lot of money. I get it, and it's not what you want. But at this point, I'm not quite sure you're getting the residuals on that Monet.
Man, you would have thought you had that written down for weeks waiting to get that line out, but that's off the cuff Drew here on the Juice Box. Let's get into another highly anticipated match. They're kind of referring to this as a dream match, but it's just these two guys never really crossed paths, and now they finally get to Swerve Strickland versus Bobby Lashley. Okay. Here, Bobby Lashley getting first real single, like one-on-one. This is a huge deal. The whatever Fakakta match that happened this past week with Cheeseburger, although shout out Cheeseburger, big fan of his in a Ring of Honor all those years ago.
Where'd you hear that word, Fakakta?
Podcasts Seinfeld? Over the no. Okay. I would actually say, I think like Peter Rosenberg said it before.
Yeah, because it's very much like a New York East Coast type of.
He's a New York-based guy.
Yeah, it's almost like sense. Yiddish kind of stuff. So I was like, whoa, Juice.
Yeah. Shout out Peter Rosenberg on Cheap Heat. But this is a match that I'm looking forward to. It's been, I say dream match because people have like looked at these guys, been like, this would have been a great match when Swerve was in WWE, and then like he leaves and Lashley becomes a huge deal, and it's like they never really crossed those paths. Swerve's now at the height of his powers. Lashley's coming in at a huge deal as well now. The Hurt Syndicate. I'm liking where they're going with this. much like Hangman and Jay White, I don't think this will be their last match, depending on how the outcome plays out. So I'm going to say Bobby Lashley gets the win here. I'm in for Big Bob. What say you, Drew?
Yeah, listen, I love Bobby Lashley, love Swerve. Swerve's a dog. Bobby Lashley is probably one of the most marketable wrestlers you could ever have on your roster. And a lot of people sitting back being like, why'd they bring in Lashley? Lashley's name is very, very impressionable, and it brings in viewers. Now, is it going to bring in 100,000 more like a CM Punk would? No, but Bobby Lashley coming into AEW was a good hire, smart hire. The Hurt Business, the Hurt Syndicate over there is a smart hire. I agree with you. I think Big Bob takes the victory on Saturday at the Prudential Center, but I think it's kind of like interference-ish, and we'll get Swerve to get his rematch, and he'll get the one-up on Big Bob and the Hurt Syndicate. I think Swerve might need two other dudes or maybe another guy with him so that we could have a tag match or a six-man tag at World's End where maybe we get, Swerve and the other two gentlemen going over on the three members of the Hurt Syndicate or two. But this match is something I'm very much looking forward to. I think the writing, and I know who wrote the stuff, has been very, very solid. And I think this is one of the best builds that AEW has on this card. So shout out to the writers and the producers and the talents who are doing this.
Right. The talent has to execute regardless of what's going on there. So I would just say, I don't know. I'm curious as to who, if they do a trios or what have you, who would be that team? Would it be two random guys that have a problem with Bob, or would it be a tag team? Really don't know what that.
Did you see Leo joining the Hurt Syndicate?
Sure. Because they were together in WWE. Why not? And I was going to say, why Tony Khan brought in Bobby Lashley?
Why?
Because he's a former ECW champion.
Ah, okay. Got it. So are we going to get, he brought in Show.
Ezekiel Jackson.
Who else? Yeah, right. I don't think so, right?
Christian.
So that's not going to happen.
Christian's a former ECW champion.
That's true. We're talking WWECW, but yeah, sure. Okay.
Well,
I wonder who would tag
about that. That's the point of the joke, Drew. Come on.
I wonder who we would get to have on Swerve's side. Who could Swerve align with that is not friendly with Bob or Shelton?
I mean, Private Party loses their titles? It could be them, or if they are champions, they use them. No, the Acclaimed.
There you go.
There you go. Okay, that works. You think that's enough? You think that satiates the fans? The Acclaim being with Swerve, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that's a good word too. I would say yeah. I think the Acclaimed are missed right now. Just like I think FTR's missed on this card. Huge FTR guy. But again, there's only so many matches, and that's the other thing. A lot of people sit back and they give Tony and the bookers who are booking this stuff a lot of crap. Too many matches. Then he leaves off certain people, and they're like, "Yo, where's my guy?"
You can't win, Drew. You can't win. It's tough. You put too many people on, the roster's too bloated, or you're not using the roster, or there's not enough being used on each show, or the show's too long. Can a show first of all, AEW pay-per-views, I could sit here and not watch any episodes of Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, whatever, and buy the pay-per-view and be like, damn, I cannot wait for that next show. Every time it delivers. So to me, it's like, why are we nitpicking when the biggest part of this company delivers every single time?
That model is troubling at times, though, for me at least.
Sure. You don't want that to be the status quo.
AEW does a fantastic job of marketing, promoting, selling tickets for their pay-per-views. And I think they need to grip people and sell people more into the television shows that coincide with your pay-per-views and build to them. Because I don't remember the time where AEW had less than 5,000 people in the building for a pay-per-view. And there's many times where their television has less than 5,000 people. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's something you don't want to just hinge on where just the pay-per-views are great. Okay, but people have TV, not for free, but way more accessible, and they're not paying $50 to see it every month or every week. So you'd like to that. And again, it doesn't have to satisfy those that with the ratings. It just has to be good enough week to week to keep you interested, bring you back. I don't know. It's an easy thing to say, but sometimes it's tougher to make the juice worth the squeeze, if you know what I'm saying.
Easier said than done. It's all about execution.
for sure. So we'll see what happens. I got Bob Lashley. Do you have Bob winning as well then?
I got Big Bob with the big victory in Newark.
Big Bob. I love calling him Bob ever since 2019 Monday Night Raw might be one of the worst years for the company in history. But just Rusev and Bobby Lashley having that crazy like cuck angle brought out Rusev saying Big Bob and Bob Lashley, and I'm like, this. I want people to call him that all the time. It's amazing.
I like the Santino Marella when he called John Cena John Chana. I still call him John Chana when I'm not on the air and stuff like that. And for me, like that's me. I listen to Rob Zombie and I call him Bob Zombie. It's only a
good
couple
old
songs.
Bob Zombie.
Good old Bob Zombie. Love me some Bob Zombie.
What's your favorite Bob Zombie song?
I'd say More Human Than Human, which is a White Zombie song.
My dad loves Thunder Kiss 65 from
me
White
too.
Zombie.
Me too. That was my second favorite song, and I'm a Dragula type of guy too. So
Dragula is amazing. Never Gonna Stop is great as well. I like some of the stuff on like the House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yep.
Yeah. Hellbilly Deluxe.
Yeah.
Oh man. Love Bob Zombie, man. Good rock outfit there. So
another good Bob,
Absolutely. Let's get to no more Bobs on this card, but we got the last 4 matches here got some juice for sure. AEW TNT Championship here. Daniel Garcia challenging Jack Perry for this prestigious championship. You've already kind of brought up that you foresee Jack Perry losing. I'm going to say this, and I titled it as one of my recent podcast episodes. I have done a 180-degree turn on Jack Perry in the best possible way. I have been quoted as saying he has the charisma of a penny and have given him no credit whatsoever. However, in the last few weeks and months, and we've talked about it, a little bit of an allusion to what Raven used to do. He's not being Raven, but he's doing his own thing in that regard, being mysterious, being dark and brooding, having the blacksmith title created for him. All these types of things. And the line that put me over the edge for Jack Perry as, damn, I kind of believe this now, is when he got choked against the wall by Daniel Garcia, and Jack Perry's like, not really trying to get away from it, but he just says, hey, they used to dance for me too. And that was like, damn, that is a dark, dark line for, if you're an AEW viewer, you knew Jurassic Express and this whole thing and everything was happy-go-lucky. And now look, Luchasaurus is doing his own thing. He's a bad guy. Jack Perry's been hated by everybody. Daniel Garcia, they love your little dance. But when that stops, are the fans going to care about you? Jack Perry says no. I love this Jack Perry. I think he's going to lose, though. I agree, Drew. What say you?
I love your Raven comparison. I made it a while back, and people looked at me like I was nuts, but I felt like Jack Perry had this kind of like edge to him, no pun intended.
We talked about that on our All Out show whenever the cage, the blood and guts thing happened.
Yeah, and I think that, speaking of edge, I think Copeland's probably on his way back sooner rather than later. For me, it's very interesting with the whole Jack Perry thing. I think Jack Perry is 100% losing the championship on Saturday in Newark at the Prudential Center. But I will say that I think Daniel Garcia.
Every time you do that, man, every sentence is ending with in Newark at the Prudential Center.
I think that Danny Garcia is the right person for it. And I also think that it's interesting. They're running off a lot of the elite characters, right? The Young Bucks, they packed their stuff and skedaddled. Jack Perry, I think, has a lot of momentum as this, dark, edgy character. Well, I was with you. I said, no one is going to care about Jack Perry. And I was wrong. And I'm a man and I will admit when I'm wrong.
Yeah,
but I will tell you right now. I don't like the fact that the elite's running scared. So we got to figure out why that is, because they packed their stuff and left or whatever else. And that's interesting to me, but I need some advancement on that. Why did this happen? And maybe we'll get that
because of the Death Riders.
It is. It absolutely is, because they lost the titles to Private Party and then they split. But again, for me, it's like, why we abandoned the ship of the elite hostile takeover. Now we're on the Moxley hostile takeover. I need these all to make sense on why the elite decided to just skedaddle. So let's figure that out. But Jack Perry losing the TNT title, although a cool championship that he made, I think it's happening on Saturday.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if Danny Garcia keeps the Blacksmith TNT Championship. I probably doubt it. He probably won't do that, and he'll get retired. But for the future AEW Physical Hall of Fame, have you thought about that? By the way, as a sidebar, we're 5 years in. Do you think they're gonna
No.
at maybe 10 years they do an AEW Hall of Fame? Like what would satisfy
Seriously, there's a
you
lot
as
of people who don't think that AEW is going to be around the next 5 years. So, I mean, like,
well, yes,
I'm
that's
not,
true, but I'm talking to you, Drew, and you know that it will be around. So is 10 years
yeah.
too soon? Like when is that
Yeah.
cutoff of let's do it?
I think the first time you should have an inductee into an AEW Hall of Fame is after their 10 years. So I think, if you want to do year 11, I think that's fine. I think the first person that should go in, which, is going to cause a lot of uproar. There's two of them. I think all of the EVPs should go in.
But they'll be last. I think Jericho would get in first.
Jericho is going to be. That's why I said it's going to cause a lot of uproar. But I think
first
Jericho
AEW champion.
The man, and you know what? I understand a lot of you don't like him. I get it, and that's fine. You don't have to like the man. But what he did for AEW is he got them off the map. It was like, oh shit, that's Jericho over there. Not to mention, it got with some other things, but it got them the visibility on Warner, and that's what you needed. Yeah. So you can hate all you want on Chris Jericho, and I don't care what side of the fence you land on it. The business side is undeniable. I mean, Jericho in 2019 helped this company get off the map. So.
And the whole industry is better off with AEW in it, so you can't have that without Jericho saying, "I'm going to risk my WWE flag by being the AEW." Yeah, I'll clip it for you.
It is. The industry is better as a whole when you have two viable companies spending money on talent, making people earn livings, and having different canvases to paint on. Wanting one company to go away is the dumbest thing on the planet. Just so that you and your buddies could sit around, open a six-pack, and be like, remember when Tony started a wrestling company? What does that do for you? Like, did they
nothing? And you'll get WWE back in their old ways of, well, we have no competition, so let's just phone it in. Triple H is going crazy with booking because there's a competitor.
I know you were a baby at the time, and I know you went to some WCW shows, but man, when WWE got real competition from Bischoff and WCW, the product was never better on both ends. Don't wish for one company to go away because then the other company just puts out slop and you got to eat it. And I don't want to eat slop anymore. I was happy during the Monday Night Wars. I was happy from 2002 to I think it was 2012, and then all of a sudden it fell off a cliff. So.
Oh yeah, it sure did. The dark days of WWE. 3 matches left here. This is again pretty much just a grudge match here. New hair Kyle Fletcher going after Will Ospreay, former best friends. Now,
I think that was a mistake, Juice.
What, him cutting his hair?
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, if he gets studio shots and gets a new action figure out of it, it'll be good. But Matt Cardona would say, if you're not going to get an action figure and then you cut your hair, now they have to update it. You're screwing yourself over out of money. So hopefully they get studios before and now after, so you can get 2 figures out. But
dude,
I think it's not a Cody tattoo. It's a little less than that.
How smart is Cardona? I mean, the dude just gets it.
We could have our own episode about Matt Cardona.
Long Island's own, baby. A lot of people from Long Island that have some brains, you know.
He did not text me, but DM me yesterday. I asked him if they were gonna get they tried to get the Costco guys for figures, and he said we tried.
It's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
But he doesn't.
Matt,
they don't know.
Matt knows why.
Well, he said he doesn't know, but I told him he didn't have to tell me if he did. So it's a work. So, but
I mean, I don't know if it's a work. I would assume Matt knows why.
Well, they have their company, and I'm sure they reached out. They've got plenty of other licenses, but maybe maybe the Costco guys got something else in the works. But we'll see.
They could want a lot of money, or they could have already signed somewhere.
It's probably the latter. I doubt it's about the money at this point because I think they're pretty well. They're doing pretty well.
I could see an AEW exclusive.
With Jazzwares, and I don't see. Yeah. Well, it's the same. It's all the same. It'd be the company that does their figures, but Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher. I mean, it's going to be a great match. That's all I can at least guarantee you. The story has been building, and maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong on Kyle Fletcher, but I think he's kind of stepped his game up, and just the whole Don Callis family in general, I feel like is a nice. I mean, there's plenty of stables in AEW. More stables and championships. That could be decided as well. But I kind of like the direction that Kyle Fletcher's going in with a guy like Will Ospreay. Put yourself on the map by saying, I want to beat you and I don't like you anymore. And like, this is what like, this is how you do it. I would like to see Kyle Fletcher win this match. I don't think it hurts Will Ospreay at all if he loses. So give me Kyle Fletcher in a banger, as the kids say.
I'm here for it. I'm with you. I think Kyle needs this more than Will. I think Will and Kyle know each other very well. This is the perfect opportunity to capitalize off that and have, Kyle shine because Will will take care of him. Will's bulletproof. The match is going to be an absolute banger. And again, this is the part of the show with AEW. There's so many things on this show. This is going to be your holy shit type of match moments for the AEW audience in terms of moves and all that other stuff.
We got 4K D-Ray. It's got to be a Fletcher win headed to Australia, right? I mean, that's a couple months away, no? Isn't that February?
Yeah, I think we'll start getting the Tony Storm return, obviously, which will help build intrigue for that.
Oh, we gotta talk. Remind me of that. We got to talk about that. We'll talk about that next segment.
And I definitely think you'll see some, country men and women represented at.
Wouldn't you think both these guys are going to be in the Continental Classic?
So Fletcher for sure.
Yeah,
that would be my prediction. Not quite sure on Will, but Fletcher for sure. You want a big
Ospreay's
match
almost
World's
bigger
End,
than that.
They could run back Okada and Ospreay. I would agree, but I think AEW sees what they see, and Will's going to probably win every championship in AEW besides the tag titles and all that other stuff. Or the trios. So I mean, I could easily see Will and Okada at World's End in Orlando because that's a big money match. But I do think Fletcher's going to be in it 100%.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Give me Kyle Fletcher winning this match, and it kind of brings me back to, was it Takeshita and Omega, where Takeshita won, and it was like, oh my God, Takeshita, I cannot believe he pulled it off.
Yeah, I wanted Takeshita to beat Mox at, I believe it was Double or Nothing, and it didn't happen.
I thought he was going to win the IWGP.
But it made sense because we were headed to Forbidden Door, and they wanted him to drop Mox to drop it to a New Japan talent. I get it. Takeshita was kind of done with New Japan, full AEW talent. And Takeshita's such a good talent. Such a good talent.
Oh, yeah. He's the alpha.
That's right.
That's right. So there is going to be a Champagne Championship celebration. Mariah May and Mina Shirakawa. I have stated I think it would be cool for Tony Storm to crash this and potentially debut some sort of new gimmick, if not angle of the gimmick, because she has stated she's retiring. Check my Twitter bio. Everything is a work. I don't buy her leaving abruptly for a second. So give me something new with Tony Storm. And
I think they telegraphed this. I think the AEW did themselves more harm than help by Tony should have just remained silent. They could have had it. I know the rumors were going to swirl anyway, but at this point, you've almost thrown it in everyone's face that it is going to happen. And you don't want to know what? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe we're all wrong. But it seems to me like if I'm betting on Tony Storm showing up tomorrow night at the Prudential Center.
I'm not going to get the whole night tomorrow. I'm going to watch the show and I'll be like, wow, I can't believe they're having the show at the Prudential Center.
There you go. See?
Oh man, I love it. Yeah, I think it is kind of telegraphed, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. It's because I honestly was not even aware they were doing this celebration until they brought up the graphic on Dynamite this past week. Maybe I was lost in the shuffle there, but putting together, Tony just had this thing come out. They're doing this. Seems like there's some smoke, could be some fire. And there's plenty of fire when you're talking Mariah May and Mina Shirakawa. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Listen, champagne celebrations are fun. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm more of a red wine guy. That's what I'm going to do after I jump off this with you. I got a dinner date, so we'll have to handle that. And yeah. So, I like red wine more than I like champagne, but whenever there's a champagne celebration, I think there's going to be some shenanigans. Champagne and shenanigans go hand in hand.
Wow, that should be a party, the champagne shenanigans.
There you go.
You get $1 million idea right there. Phil says, I got to get a counter going for how many times Drew says things. Yeah,
you should.
We get a Prudential counter. cliche
Stack
counter
marbles
dad
on the freeway.
Yeah, you're oh my god, smoke cigarettes backwards.
Yeah.
Here we go, all the cliches.
A lot of you wrestling fans smoke your cigarettes backwards, and I can tell by some of your responses on X. So
Hey, you told me that whenever I chimed in with my first super chat, supporting you guys, you and Sean, on
Juice.
after the show, and I was just trying to support. I asked one question, and as soon as it gets asked, I get buried by Drew. Smoke cigarettes backwards. What are you talking about?
If I bury you on the air or somewhere else, it means I like you.
Yeah,
I you know this from way back in the day when you were with CSR. I've always respected you, and you're a good human being. And that's the difference between a lot of these other people. You don't go into business for yourself, which if you're watching this, you should never do. Never try and outshine anybody that you're working with. It's a collaboration. It's not a me thing. It's a collaboration. If you can't collaborate, get out.
That's right. That's why your name is also underneath here. You know, this is a collaboration. This is a collaborative effort. Friends helping friends, collaborators helping
people.
It's like what a concept.
People helping people.
What a novel concept. We talked about this guy earlier, and I guess they're having a match because Tony Khan tweeted it. No actual promo for it, but damn, I'm sure this will be another match of the night. Takeshita defending international title against Ricochet. I was one of those that was critical of, well, Ricochet has this great big opening, great match with Will Ospreay. I was in attendance for that show, the 5-year anniversary. And then it was like, well, he's going to wrestle on Collision. And it's like, here we go. But now, here we go. Ricochet, Takeshita, title on the line, pay-per-view setting. They are going to steal the show. Drew, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, the Ricochet Takeshita match obviously going to be a very good match. The problem with it is that, you know, they should have built this better, in my opinion, on Dynamite or Collision or whatever. Utilize television. Yeah. Ricochet's not winning. I just don't see it. I think maybe we get some sort of interference by somebody, but I just do not see Ricochet winning the championship at Full Gear. So we'll have to wait and see. I think Takeshita is going to get a really warm reaction at the Prudential Center, which is interesting. I think AEW needs to take that into consideration when booking him going forward.
Really? What did that mean? What do you mean by that? Do you think he should? Do you think the international title is not the ceiling for him? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I think this is the ground floor. I think he's headed to the penthouse. But for me, I think AEW needs to start understanding, which they do for the most part, their target audience is the wrestling audience, like the wrestling audience. So for me, these people love Takeshita. I understand what they're doing. If you will. Yeah, they're giving him a lot of heat, and they got callous with him, and it's smart because otherwise he would be cheered, and that's not what they want right now. But they got to be careful who they book him against. Ricochet's a great opponent, but they got to keep Takeshita strong, and they got to be careful going forward, in my opinion, because Takeshita's reactions are only going to get louder and louder and louder. He's a star.
He's the alpha. We got Tishon Peoples. Drew, my guy, lots of good points. He does have good points, doesn't he?
I try.
We also have this interesting for Drew, the business guy, Ticket Drew in my phone. Does Drew know how well tickets are moving since the last update earlier today?
Yeah, I would predict that AEW is going to have close to 10,000, if not over 10,000 in the building tomorrow, Prudential Center, New York, New Jersey.
It's like Drew is like... How can I prove I'm not on the payroll? By consistently referencing where the show is with the background of the show that I'm going
it.
In the show I'm going to be at.
You get it. You get the gimmick. You get it.
Of course. And Phil chimes in. Does Ricochet ever win a title in AEW? And this is what I kind of brought it up for. I think he's tailor-made for the Continental Classic. Give me Ricochet and Kyle Fletcher. Give me Ricochet and Okada. Give me all of it. Give me every single potential matchup with Ricochet and those guys.
Yeah, it's a good way to get Ricochet over. But for me, no. I don't want Ricochet winning that championship. I would love to see more equity in Ricochet because right now I'm not there. But Ricochet's a great talent, and it's up to AEW booking to book him strong. And I know there's this rumor of Speedball Mike Bailey. Don't really know his catalog, but it'll be the Continental Classic to really get him over if that's where he's debuting.
It's where the best wrestle, and they surely do have that in spades when it comes to Ricochet, Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, Ospreay, half this card we said. So looking forward to that. And let's get into the main event here. I know, so we'll just set it up. AEW World Title, Orange Cassidy versus Jon Moxley, of course, defending. Orange Cassidy now in his black denim, I'm gonna kind of chime in with the a quote from your former co-host JD, who said, "How can I get excited for this match when Wheeler Yuta is going against Orange Cassidy in the main event on the Go Home show?" I tend to agree with. I'm not sure if that was the best way to promote Orange Cassidy. Like, I would have done an angle to have the Go Home show end instead of just a one-on-one match where, like, his point was, well, if Orange Cassidy's having a tough time with Wheeler Yuta, and that's not to disparage Yuta, but it's like, well, how are you going to compete with the world champion who's killing everybody? So I kind of agree in that sense, but I would have just liked an angle to close out the show instead of, like, more of just a traditional angle instead of this match. But
I'm with you.
do you think
I fully understand where you're coming from.
Any chance Cassidy wins this? Because I don't see it at all. That's where it leads. What's next for this Moxley Death Riders thing? If that's the case, if that's how the match goes.
No, I don't see Orange winning the world championship at Full Gear, although they have crowned some of the AEW originals at this show. I do not see them crowning Orange Cassidy tomorrow night. What's interesting is, how do we get to this finish? What happens? How do we keep both these guys clean? Because Mox needs to come out of here with the victory, holding the AEW championship, but you can't bury Cassidy because you've kind of built him as this challenger now, and people are going to get invested and have been invested. I agree with you. The stuff on Dynamite for me was a miss. The ending was a miss. Not everything's going to be a home run, but this was a miss. Mox wins. I'm interested in the conclusion of the match and how they book Cassidy throughout it. If they book Cassidy and he just gets the shit kicked out of him, I don't think they're going to be invested. The people, the fans are going to be invested in any sort of stuff going forward with Cassidy. He'll have to be removed from whatever the plans are revolving the Death Riders and this group. So it's very important to how they book him tomorrow night, him being Cassidy.
Right. And let's say Mox wins, as we both think it was going to happen. Is there anything after the show? I know it's very early for Brian to come back, because I think I think if he wants to be involved with something, whether he's wrestling or not, I think it would make sense. He's the guy that they drove out, tried to kill. Even if he's not wrestling, he could lead somebody or some group in or something. What's next for Mox if he retains it?
So it's interesting. He didn't get neck surgery. Yeah. So I think he being Bryan Danielson. So I think that's very interesting. But again, I'm with you. I think it's soon. They could. People are like, Shane lives in New York. Shane McMahon, I don't think is showing up. You never know. But I would highly doubt it. I think you get more returns than you get debuts. I could see Copeland maybe coming back, Omega maybe coming back, and Tony Storm. Other than that, outside of the box debuts, I don't see it. Maybe they announce Speedball Mike Bailey. I don't know. Who knows? But in regards to the finish of this match, again, it really depends on where they want to go. They need to keep Mox and Cassidy. Mox is a killer and Cassidy clean. That's a hard thing to do right now.
It really is. And I don't know. I like that it's been the originals, as you said, and Orange Cassidy gets this shot, but it's not that I don't buy it, because Darby Allin I could buy winning. We talked about Brody King. I wanted to mention this point. I think Brody King is a guy that could win the AEW title or challenge if a guy like Darby has it, based on how they work. So a guy like Orange Cassidy, the same thing, but specifically in this storyline, it's like a 5% chance I see him walking out as champion. And that's only based on your point of Full Gears, where people kind of get crowned, and it would just abruptly stop the storyline. I don't see that happening at all.
It depends on how they finish, how the finish, happens. Could it be something where Mox gets screwed? Okay, then there's some story there. But a lot of people, even AEW loyalists, are like, I don't see Orange being the guy. That's an interesting concept. When, for the sickos, they don't see a guy who basically is Mr. AEW along with some others not being the guy. So tomorrow night, I think, is pivotal for AEW at the Prudential Center and how they get out of this match with both men kind of clean. They really need to. Yeah. And AEW is not known for their garbage schmodge finishes. Like, they're going to give you a finish. So
I think it's more likely that Mox wins. I doubt it's a beat, like a squash, but I think that they definitely beat Orange Cassidy up to a pulp. Juice, orange, a lot of puns in there that you could find.
Joke. That's a good dad joke. Good dad joke.
I do what I can. Hey, well, if a dad approves it, then I'm on my way. But I think there's probably a beatdown, and hopefully we get an angle. But who would be next for Mox if he retains? I mean, Does Team AEW have anybody left that's viable?
That's why I think this match comes off with some sort of like
Could this be
disruptive
Copeland?
finish. Could be. But Copeland kind of is the ex-WWE guys that all those other guys are, minus Wheeler Yuta, you know?
True.
So it's interesting. Like, and they've referred to Wheeler as the pawn. So for me, it's very,
He is a pawn.
will we get a continuation or will we get a conclusion? Is this going somewhere or is this it?
Is Wheeler going to turn and go after Mox? Like, what do they do? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
That would mean that would not bring a lot of
the good thing about this
timelines.
is for the good thing about this, for all the stuff that we're kind of up in arms about, truthfully, is that we are at a position right now where we can't really call this match. We say that Mox is going to win, but how do we get there? We can't call the finish, how it's going to happen, all this other stuff. So that's very interesting to me. That's the only part of this that I think has some legs, is Mox is going to win, but how? How do we get here? And where are they going after this? That's the interesting point.
Right. And I think that's been my biggest critique of AEW, outside of like cliche things like a bloated roster or too many titles. Those are little things that can get tweaked over time, but lack of deeper stories that last longer than a couple of weeks or pay-per-view to pay-per-view really is something that I think AEW could work on. And they've been doing better. Like we've been talking about, the Death Riders, Don Callis family, these stables, certain storylines, the Elite going away. They have things in motion, but it's all about what's next, paying off at a pay-per-view, but setting up for the next one. It's how you tie those things together that make that continuity and that stability for a company that people can get behind and say, hey, this truly is a competitor. They're not just having great matches. I don't think AEW wants to pigeonhole themselves as just that. It should be where the best wrestle, but it should be more than just that, I think. I think their stories do matter, and I think they should lean into that. So
I agree.
Overall,
I agree.
Yeah,
everything could be better.
Everything could be
better.
No,
I agree. Everything could be better. Yeah.
Yeah, but who are we? Well, you're on the payroll. It's going to get better. What's
I got some
You're
people
just placating me for the show.
Yeah, I got some people who just walked into my room who are giving me the eyeball. So I'm getting to get off the air. So I gotta go.
Perfect. So I was just going to say, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this card as a whole before we wrap it up?
I think the card has a lot for everybody. Do I wish there were more builds for some things? Do I wish there were some talents on the show? Yeah, I do. But at the end of the day, I think we're here. There's a pay-per-view. There's a lot on it. We have to see where they go. And there's going to be 10,000 screaming fans at the Prudential Center. And hopefully they get their money's worth, because AEW really does not give you garbage pay-per-views. They really do deliver. And even the haters will tell you that. You get your money's worth with AEW. So there's a lot of meat on this bone, and I hope we get to eat all of it. I hope there's not this like overwhelming feeling of, man, that show sucked, because you can't have those, because then they start to snowball and then it becomes a problem. So
I'm looking forward to it being there in person. Anything in particular about it that you're looking forward to? Like the fans, you think it's going to be good crowd? Of course you're there, but
the AEW fans are always top notch. I like that AEW is in a position where these are like real, and not WWE has them too. There's a lot of casuals who go to WWE shows, but these are a lot of like your diehard fans. And this because we've gone to so many shows together, and we've been in so many buildings together, where it kind of like everyone feels like they know each other, which is crazy. And you don't. They're a bunch of strangers who just got together to watch professional wrestling, but that's the connection. And for me, that's why I did the suites. That's why I did the Pier Club. Shout out to Jono's Hospitality. Shout out to AEW. Shout out to the Prudential Center. And that's what it was. I wanted everybody to, who could afford this, to come have an experience that you probably can't have with any other company, because right now, the other company's white hot and their ticket prices are through the roof. And this, I did suites with WWE for a long time, but those days are gone because of how hot their product is and how in demand they are. So I'm looking forward to it. AEW pay-per-views are always a blast. They really are. The energy is palpable.
Absolutely. So I cannot wait. We'll close out with this. Phil, great show, guys. I'm excited to see what the future holds after Full Gear. And that's what we've been talking about this whole time, Drew, is what is next. We can predict all we want, but what is next is unpredictable. And that's what makes it great. And that's what makes us excited for the next show.
Absolutely. Your suspension, of your disbelief. That's what needs to happen. I need I need that. I absolutely need that. You need to make me, believe something is or isn't going to happen. And I don't want predictability. And I think that's what, some things in wrestling as a whole are very, very predictable. And it's like, okay, saw this one coming. So give me something that's not predictable. Doesn't need to be all the time, but give me something that's not predictable. And again, looking forward to this experience. And we will have some experiences lined up for future AEW shows. I know a lot of fans and people were asking about it. We're going to do All In Texas. So make sure you guys and girls stay locked to my socials for that. And if you're coming to the show tomorrow and you want to say what's up, do it. Come on, come say hi. Don't be afraid. I'm a human just like everybody else. I believe
Drew's a very friendly guy, very personable.
And I will see all the people who are in the peer club. I look forward to, hanging out and having a cocktail or taking a picture, whatever you guys want. Please don't be shy, because that's the least that I am. I'm the furthest thing from shy. And come say hi and let's have a good time, because that's what this is. It's a Saturday night, right? Let's go have fun.
Yeah, how many times you get to meet the real Mr. Clean in the flesh?
That's true, Mr. Clean. And I will have my brother with me who looks exactly like me, just bigger.
Poor son of a bitch.
He's got more muscle than I do, so good luck.
That's not that hard. Thanks for joining me, Drew. This has been wonderful. I appreciate your time. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? They're going to put you in there next. You're just flying around. Football, wrestling, you do it all, man. So
here, there, and everywhere, buddy.
I appreciate you hopping on here, and I'm sure we'll get to do more of these in the future. So have a good one and enjoy Full Gear, Drew.
I'll see you, Juice. Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely, buddy.